Welcome to the Laying the Body podcast. I'm Terrence.
And I'm Lucas.
And we are the podcast for head rushing shots of hockey. I love hockey. Do you love hockey?
Love hockey.
Hockey's amazing.
That's why we're here.
We are here to talk about hockey. Now, this is our first episode right now, and we love to share our knowledge of hockey with you guys. We're going to be uploading weekly as we are going to be trying to share our knowledge of hockey and maybe get some insight from other people in comment sections and other things, and we can expand our love for hockey and try to be better people.
And as many of you may know, the NHL has officially started their training camps, opening up today, and first on-ice sessions start tomorrow. While that's been going on, a lot of big news with RFA contracts, such as Pier Dubois and Matt Barzal, and the World Juniors that have been going on for the past couple weeks have started to pick up and are now into the elimination games.
Yes, and we are going to be talking about those very shortly, as we say right now that we love your support. We hope that you listen, we hope that you tune in, and we hope that everything goes the way that you expected it to. With that being said, we're going to head into the World Juniors and talk about that a little bit more and how exciting that has been, especially in the quarterfinals that what happened yesterday.
And in the first game of the quarterfinals, it was Russia versus Germany, where Russia held on to a 2-1 win in a tight, very fun and entertaining game. Now,
in the first period, Russia was still very dominant. Tim Stützle doing his thing. That kid is amazing. Tim Stützle is just like a kid of nature, just a freak of nature. Now, but despite Stützle hitting the post before the goal, they were on the power. Germany was on the power play, and Russia scored a shorthanded goal in 9:06 into the first. Vasily Ponomarev, his third of the playoffs, assisted from Semyon Shestakov and Zakhar Badarkov. Now, going into the second, Russia had, of course, all the momentum, as Russia then scored again 8:27 into the second period. Daniil Bashkarov, his first of the World Junior Tournament, and Igor Afanasayev and Gritsuk on Arseny Gritsuk got the assists.
Russia was pretty dominant throughout the rest of the game, heading into the third period, but that didn't last for long when Germany got the go-ahead goal at 3:24 into the third period from Florian Elias, unassisted, his fourth of the qualifiers.
Now, there was many posts hit in that third period by Germany and by Elias. There was a lot of chances for Germany to come back. Many posts hit, Tim Stützle doing his thing, but they could not catch a break, and Russia held on. And then it was to the point where what happened was Germany's one-line attack was not good enough to defeat Russia's balanced attack.
So, Terrence, I got to ask you, because you seem very high on Tim Stützle, what do you think he's going to be? You think he's going to be good?
I think he's going to be amazing. The third overall pick to Ottawa is just impressed me for so many ways. As right now on the Germany team, and he has the most ice time by any player in total, any defenseman, anybody. As a forward, as a centerman, most points, 10 points, 5 goals, 5 assists in 5 games of the tournament.
Yeah, he's having himself a tournament right now.
He has over 25 minutes per game, more than any other German player.
And you got to factor in, he's got right now 21 shots on goal for the amount of games that they've played. It's pretty decent
21
amount.
shots, that just overtakes everyone. And that he's the star on that team. And the fact is, the other two players playing along him are also very, very good. John Turcotte and Florian Elias. Florian Elias being the player of this game who scored, and he is undrafted. And who knows, maybe after this tournament, someone will go pick him up. 4 goals, 5 assists in this playoff. But Tim Stützle, I think, is going to be a very, very special player. Because Germany gave Russia a fight because of this one-line power. Now, like what I said before, Germany did give Russia a fight. How can Russia be better for Canada?
So, even though Russia held on to the 2-1 win here, it's Canada. Canada is the powerhouse along with the United States, and their attack is definitely better than Germany's. So, Russia's going to have to be better on the back end in terms of defensively and with their goaltender. They're going to have to stand tall, and the offense is going to have to produce more than they did against Germany for sure.
I agree. I feel like their team is very, very good. You got You got Ilya Safonov, who is leading. I mean, not Ilya Safonov. Sorry. You got Rodion Amarov, who's leading the attack in points for the Russians, and they have a nice balanced attack. They don't have one stud really, but they got a nice balanced attack. They got a couple good young guys like Vasily Podkolzin, 10th overall pick in this last year's draft by the Vancouver Canucks, and everything is just very sound with this Russian team. Pretty decent goaltending as well, like Lucas said, but they are going to have to be a lot better in their offensive attack, in their defensive attack, and their goaltending for them to have a chance against Canada. And I like to see Vasily Podkolzin put in more of an effort. He was a highly doubted prospect in this draft, and I'd like to see more out of him. And for them to beat, he has the most shots on goal for this whole Russian team at 20. And I want to see him produce more. And he's my X factor if they want to beat Canada in the upcoming round.
I'd also say to add on to that is just like in the NHLs, you see many defensemen, such as one of our favorite ex-Islanders, Devon Toews, jumping up on the rush and producing and creating more offense. I got to tell you, players such as Jan Kuznetsov, who has been silent with 0 points, and Nhl Chaika. I'm probably pronouncing
Chaika. I think it's
weird.
just Chaika. Yes.
Players like that on the defensive side have to step up. They've got to be jumping up on the rush in order to produce more offense, as they're going to definitely need all the offense and help that they can get in their battle against Canada.
I agree with that. It is very nice to see that this team is coming together as one group and putting up some good hockey. Hockey has been gone for a little bit, and it's good to see that good hockey's back from a good team in Russia, and I'm happy to see how they're going to do in the semifinals against a tough matchup against Canada.
And now into our next game, which is Finland versus Sweden, which, Terrence, I got to say, was personally one of my favorite games of the tournament so far.
Yeah, this was the best game of the night, best game of the first elimination round, the quarterfinals, and it was just a great fight to start it off.
Yeah, for sure. With Finland ending with a huge come-from-behind 3-2 win, where it was seen that Sweden had the momentum and everything going for them for, I would say, most of the game, you'd say, correct?
I would say it was a good first period for
sure
for Sweden, as the first goal coming at 14:28, Lucas Raymond, the highly doubted prospect, now gets his second, assisted by Albert Johansson. And then Sweden scored a power play goal at 16:05. Right after that, Elmer Soderblom, what a goal that was.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Between the legs, right pass in front. His second, we're going to talk about him a little bit later.
From your guy, Lucas Raymond.
From my guy, Lucas Raymond, who I'm also very, very high on.
And at this point in time, Sweden, once again, all over Finland as you head into the second period. But as that slowly starts to change, Finland gets their first goal at 5:32 from Henri Nikkanen, assisted by Emil Viro and Brad Lambert. Terrence, you got to tell me, the momentum was shifting right after that finish goal.
Yeah, that was a big momentum shift right there, as just the Swedes' grip started to loosen right there as Nikkanen scored. And it's very interesting because Sweden is very sound defensively, and they're very good offensively, and they could not get anything going, as they were hitting posts, they were doing everything, and they just couldn't get into the back of the net.
Yes, Sweden definitely started to struggle as the second period went on, and Finland definitely kept it going into the third period as Finland scored their second goal of the game on the power play at 11:04. Anton Lundell from Ville Heinola. It was Anton's fourth of the tournament, and overall,
this guy's something special.
Oh, for sure.
Drafted by the Florida Panthers, he is just a freak of nature. I mean, he's a great two-way player, the captain of the Finland team. He is something. I just love Anton Lundell for Florida as he's coming up.
Yeah, Anton Lundell, if I can give a player comparison, I got to say, reminds me of John Tavares, a really strong two-way player, really good offensively, creates much offense, but then is able to come back on the defensive side of the puck and help the team get out of the zone.
No, I didn't really think about that. That's pretty cool. I mean, We don't really like John Tavares around these.
Yeah, as Islander fans, but got to give credit where credit's due. He's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a stud.
Maybe Hall of Famer coming up.
Possibly, if the Leafs can find a way to win a cup. Sorry, Leafs fans. But back to this game. It got tight, Terrence, correct? Down to the wire.
Everyone thought it was going to go to overtime, but then Finland scored with 25 seconds left in the third period. Ronnie Hirvonen, his first of the game.
Couldn't have been a bigger goal of the tournament.
Couldn't have been a bigger goal of the tournament. Mikko Petman with the assist. Just a great dump and chase play as they were behind the net, and then just like a great wraparound. The goalie was very flustered, and then they just put it into the back of the net.
Yeah, they say throw it to the net and good things can happen, and that's exactly what happened
there. Just a nice wraparound, and it just went into the back of the net. What a great comeback for Finland. And it was just like a bad first period, and then they just like didn't slow down after that. They were just constant pressure after that, and they just never gave up. And that is something that I see in a team that can go all the way and win the tournament, even against like a big team like USA or Russia or Canada.
Terrence, again, I'd for sure agree with that. This is definitely momentum that Finland can take out of this game and energy that they're going to have to bring in a tough matchup against the United States, which leads me to my next thing. Terrence, do you think Finland can pull one out against the United States in their next matchup?
I do think that they can.
Do you?
Yes, I do think that they can. I think of course, I'm American. I do love to go for the United States, but I got to give credit where credit's due, and I am scared for the Finland attack, as they are just relentless, and they just like keep going no matter what. Just like their team is just fully well-rounded. They got great defense, great offense. They're just like a team that doesn't really have like the big name players. They got Anton Lundell, of course, but they don't really have the big name players. They are just a well-rounded, oiled machine who just like keep going, no stopping. Just a very tough team to run in against. And I feel like USA is going to have a tough time with them and their balanced attack, as they just need to keep doing their thing. I feel like Finland's game right now is very, very good.
Yeah, you could look at the Finland team almost like the New York Islanders of this past year, where there's not one superstar. Yes, Matt Barzal, but you have one decently big name player, but the rest of the team, there's no big names. They have a great coach, great organization, and that's really what they need. Finland they work as a team, and in the NHL and even in the World Juniors, that's what's going to win games. So I could agree. As much as I'd love to, I think the U.S. will win. I could see an upset in the making. Now that Sweden, even though Sweden had lost that game, what do you think of Elmer Soderblom?
Elmer Soderblom, now 6th-round pick by the Detroit Red Wings. He's a big 6'5" big man. He's a big man.
And he could skate.
Great two-way player. He plays on the PK. He's just...
Reminds me of Victor Hedman a little bit.
He's a forward, though, bud.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
He's just like... It's just like this guy is huge, and he skates. He's a great two-way guy, and he can score. You could see that hands. He has 2 goals this season, and he has 2 in-between-the-legs goals for this tournament. And it's really just a pleasure to see. And this 6th-round pick, this gem in the rough, could be very good for the Detroit Red Wings going forward. Now, I did talk about my boy Lucas Raymond, the 4th overall pick this year by the Detroit Red Wings. Now, he has just taken Sweden to another level, I feel, and he's just a great player to watch. I thought before in my pre-2020 draft projections, I thought that he was going to be top 2 maybe. So yeah. So what do you think about Lucas Raymond? I know I'm high on him.
I do know you're high on him, and again, I think that he's done great throughout the World Juniors. Within 5 games played, the kid has 25 shots, and he's got 5 points. Those 5 points, though, are flying under the radar because he's done a lot of stuff that has not been tallied on the board, whether it be goals or assists. He's been great on the forecheck. He's been great at winning those one-on-one puck battles on the wall, and in turn creating offense for the rest of his teams. I agree with you. I think this kid's going to go places when he hits the NHL.
Yeah, the Detroit Red Wings do have two great studs right there with Elmer Soderblom and Lucas Raymond. Now, Sweden does have a good back end right there.
Oh, for sure.
Which I feel like could have done better this game, but despite the fact you still have those big names, Philip Broberg, you have Tobias Bornfot, you have Victor Soderstrom, like all those players, top picks for some teams. Now, of course, Sweden's known for their defensemen. You got
and their goaltenders, as you think in the back.
Victor Hedman, Oliver Ekman Larson. You can go back in the day with Lidstrom.
No, for sure, yeah.
Now, these guys are amazing. Now, do you think all these defensemen can make it to that level of superb?
On the Sweden team, I would say that there are a few. I wouldn't say all. I'm pretty high on Hedstrom. I think that he's going to be decent overall. I wouldn't say that there's any defenseman on Sweden in this year's team that really sticks out to me as much as in years past. I would say, if anything, for me, forwards more than defense, which is a nice twist, as like you said, in the past they're normally a very heavy defensive team. I could see some of the players on this team making it to the NHL one day. Defensively, I wouldn't say anyone specific, but I could see it.
Yeah. So, unlike you, I do like some very good players on this team. One person that really surprised me is Victor Soderstrom. And he was a first-round pick, number 11 in 2019 by Arizona. And he really surprised me. In 5 games, 5 assists, very sound at the defensive end. And he was a great player, as he just was very sound in his defensive end, and he was very good offensively. He went up to the rush. Same thing with Philip Broberg, as he's like the high defensive prospect right now, as he was drafted 8th by the Edmonton Oilers. Now, Edmonton, I feel like, got a stud. They always need that good defenseman back there, that good offensive defenseman, and I feel like they got it with Philip Broberg. I feel like he was the best defenseman in the draft, but it was very, very nice pickup for Philip Broberg, and I feel like he's going to be a stud.
I kind of see what you're saying. At the same time, I'm right now looking at like their plus minus and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
It takes a little bit to come in.
It does. Victor Soderstrom, though, I will give to you. It looks like he had a very strong 5 games so far in terms of both offensively and defensively, like you said, with those 5 assists. And he's currently a +1. As I look at the rest of the defense, I can't really say the same. The only other one that really sticks out to me would be Emil Andre with a +3 in the plus-minus category, which, again, you have to look at the highlights. But for me, it tells me that the ones that are -2, -3 aren't handling the puck as well in the defensive zone as they need to. So, like you said, there's time. We will see where that goes.
But it's nice to see that our boy Simon Holmstrom is doing something, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Again, another Islanders prospect. Great to see.
We love to see that.
Could always use the extra offensive help.
The Islanders do need it.
For sure. Could use that goal scorer.
But, yeah, very solid Sweden team right here. I'm going to say some other names that we didn't really touch upon. Noel Gunler, who has 4 goals, 1 assist, 5 points in these 5 games. We got Alexander Holtz, who has been pretty good and who has some pedigree to him. 1 goal, 2 assists, even though not the best run. And their goaltender, Wallstead, still very, very good. 5 games.
For sure.
Still 5 games played, just very good on the puck. And he's had a very good series no matter what. But Finland outdid them. And just you could see it by their overall totals. You could see it just their totals don't match Sweden, and their big name players don't match Sweden's big name players. But they do have their team meshing.
Finland played the more complete game, as I see that you're saying, and for sure, Sweden they played a great first 20 minutes, but as you often see in the NHL, you can't play 20 minutes. You got to play the full 60 in order to come out with a win, and that's where Finland outdid Sweden, playing a more complete game than they did, and because of that, they were able to come away with the W.
Yeah, and I agree. And just Sweden, they had a good run. I thought they were going to go a lot further.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But I thought they were going to, even though they were the lower seed than Finland, I feel like they could have come up. It wouldn't be an upset if they won. But
wouldn't be an upset, but I think their hopes
and
were a little higher. And I feel like
they were a little bit favorite. But
I would tend to agree with you. Going into this game, if I had to pick a team that I think would have won, I would have personally picked Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not a Sweden fan, but I could imagine that definitely a letdown going into this year. I think that they could have gone a little bit farther, as do the players. I think they think that themselves. Moving into our next game, we have Canada versus the Czech Republic, where Canada finished the game with a 3-0 win. Terrence, I think you could agree, Canada was really all over the Czechs right from the beginning.
Yeah, it's Canada's just dominant all the way. Just like throughout this whole tournament, they've been dominant. Now, in the first period, they just, of course, come out hot. Canada first goal by Dylan Cousins at 8:22. That Dylan Cousins kid
has
been a monster.
Number 7 for him this tournament.
Number 7. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Assisted by Conor Mcmichael, who has also been very good. I wanted the Islanders to pick him up. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but yeah, he's been under the radar for sure. I think a lot of teams are passing over him, but we'll see come the future.
I wanted him to be drafted by the Islanders when we need center depth back in the day, but
thank God we've been able to patch that up a little bit more.
Canada goal right after that, almost a little bit over 3 minutes after that, we got Bowen Byram, the top prospect for the Colorado Avalanche, getting his first. And I just love Bowen Byram. He is just a pleasure to watch. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later, too. And just like so many people to talk about on this Canada team that I just like want to dig into, because they're just like such good players, such good young youth players that once they reach the NHL, it's just going to make the game a lot more exciting.
For sure. And as heading into the second period, no goals, but Canada still dominant, keeping the Czechs in their offensive zone. In their defensive zone for I would say roughly 70% of the period.
Yeah, it's just crazy how much this dominates. It's just how much Canada dominates. Now you got those first 2 goals. Byram assisted by Krebs, and then Cousins again. Cousins did it, and then you got the first one. Cousins assisted by Conor Mcmichael. They are both just very, very just skilled goals. They are just like passing around the offensive zone. They're just like
Canada's really well built together. Yeah,
they're playing against like a high school team, it feels like.
And to add another point on to Conor Mcmichael's totals, at 17-11, an empty net goal for Canada from Conor Mcmichael, his 3rd of the tournament, assisted from Caden Gould and Peyton Krebs.
Now, I feel like Dylan Cousins is just. I'm sorry to cut you off. He is just having a great tournament. He is up there with one of the top players in this tournament, and he's a great draft pick by the Buffalo Sabres. It feels like they got a steal. 2019, 7th overall by the Buffalo Sabres. He is just, if you look at this guy's stats, it is ridiculous. In 5 games played, he has 7 goals, 6 assists, plus 10, and he's a freak of nature.
Yeah, he's been all over the ice, like you said. He's got 13 points in his 5 games, and he's shooting pretty well, too. He's got 7 goals on 19 shots with the 36.84 shooting percentage, which is pretty insane. He's scoring over almost one every 3, which that's something in itself.
Yeah, it's very, very nice to see. And then, again, Conor Mcmichael, you have...
Yeah, Quentin Byfield on there, too.
Mm-hmm. Quentin Byfield. What do you think about Quentin Byfield? Number 2 overall pick to the LA Kings in this past draft, right after Alexis Lafreniere, which is very tough to come after.
Yeah, definitely very tough to come after. I'm high on Quentin Byfield. I think he's a great pick. I love everything about the kid's game. His numbers aren't where I think he'd want them at this point in the tournament, with 5 games played, 2 goals, 5 assists. But he is a +7 and shooting 66.67%. So
he's been playing very solid,
and he makes those shots count, which is what matters. So, like I said before, he's not getting the points, but he's doing a lot off the puck, which is producing those goals in this lethal Canadian offense.
Yes, he has been playing very solid, and you didn't see him on the score sheet tonight, but you will see him on the score sheet in the NHL. You'll see him on the score sheet in later performances in this tournament, and I can say that pretty confidently. He's just a great player, just 6'5", just a beast on the puck.
Yeah, he's a tank, and he's a clutch player. You'd agree with that, right?
Mm-hmm. And I feel like he would have been a first overall pick in any other draft if it wasn't for the number 1 pick, Alexis Lafreniere, which unfortunately he's a New York Ranger.
Everyone knows about him, though. Nothing can take away from him.
Unfortunately, he's a Ranger. We can't.
Unfortunately, yes.
But like, again, other people on this Canadian team that might go under the radar. Like, I talked about Bowen Byram, who Colorado is going to love to have him. Bowen Byram he's just a great offensive defenseman that could be added to the core very, very soon. It's just, this kid has so much talent. He was a great player back in 2019 that I was very high on, and I just loved his stuff when he got drafted. He was the 4th overall pick in the 2019 draft, and it's crazy what this kid has, what his repertoire has. And he has the defense, he has the offense, he has everything in his game, and it's scary that he's going to be on Colorado, who's already offensively
lethal.
Gifted. It's crazy. I love myself some Bowen Byram. A couple other people, though. You got Cole Perfetti, who is very, very good. I do like myself a little Cole Perfetti.
And then you got Jacob Pelletier on there. Mm-hmm. Another one flying on the radar.
Alex Newhook. All people from this upcoming draft that were drafted by their respective teams. Now, Connor Mcmichael, Peyton Krebs, another one who... It's good to see Peyton Krebs back. 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. He was in a very bad shape. He, I think, towards ACL, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he did, yep.
And now he's back putting up great numbers for Team Canada. He was drafted by the Vegas Golden Knights, 17th overall. And he's a great player. In 2019, he got drafted, and it's just... He is putting up some great numbers, and it's good to see. I was very high on him. I wanted the Islanders to pick him back in 2019 because I knew, even though with a torn ACL, he would come back, and it's great to see that he did come back.
For sure. And again, with all these high prospects on the Canadian roster, once again, Canada's dominating everybody. But Terrence, would you say that Canada can stay dominant in the semis against a tough matchup in Russia? Because I feel like that Russia team is flying under the radar a little bit.
Yes, they're going to stay dominant. I am not expecting any less of the Canadian team, as they are just all-round studly, and they're just like that. That country breeds hockey players like no other.
It's tough to go against Canada.
They're a great team, and it's just everything just is going their way. They got the pucks, they got the offensive weapons, they got the defense, they got the goalie. Their goalie, Levi Devon, he's been playing amazing, putting up the highest save percentage in the league so far. Now, unfortunately, we haven't talked a lot about the Czechs, as it's tough. Czechs did not do very well in this tournament. They did end up beating Russia in the preliminaries, but so there's just nothing really to show for the Czechs. For
the Czechs, though, I if I could say, is one bright spot, which I think again on a very underwhelming Czech Republic team this year, Martin Lang, he did hit 4 points. He had 3 goals and an assist.
Plus 2.
Yeah. overall,
highest shooting percentage.
I could see that being the one bright spot on this Czech team that for the future, and I think he could possibly find his way into the NHL at some point. But outside of that, unfortunately, not much you could say for the Czech Republic team.
Yeah, the Czech Republic team is just, unfortunately, not the best that we could have seen. I mean, Martin Lang, like you said, we're hoping that he can soon make it, but I mean, just a tough showing by the Czech Republic, dominant performance by Canada, and I got a feeling Canada is going to go much further than the semis.
Yeah, Canada, once again, 3-0 win over the Czech Republic. Looks like they're going to take this, they're going to ride this big shutout into the semis against Russia. And with that being said, we're going to move on to the final game that happened this evening. The United States versus Slovakia. Again, Terrence, big win for the USA, 5-2. I would say a very dominant win overall.
Yeah, it was very dominant. I mean, there was some points where I was watching the game, and it was scary, and we'll go through it in a second, but they did hold their own. The U.S. just makes their own problems, and we're going to get into that very, very soon. Now, first one, USA power play goal, 10:44 in. They have the best power play in the tournament. Arthur Kaliev, his second power play goal, his second power play goal. So both of his goals scored in this tournament, scored on the power play. He's a pretty good young player. Scored for Matthew Boldy and Trevor Zegras.
Boy, is he a stud, man.
Zegras is just something. We're gonna talk about him. We are gonna talk about him. The Ducks got a very, very good pick in him. The power play is very efficient for the USA. It's just they've been fighting on all cylinders. We're going to see another one very, very soon. But very dominant first for USA, as you didn't really see any flaws. They were just all over the place. It was a couple misses. Caulfield, I remember missing a breakaway.
Yep.
And it was a couple posts, but just like overall relentless attack by the USA.
And the United States would take this very dominant first period into the second period. And without wasting any time, 11:55 into the second period, John Farinacci, his third of the tournament, assisted from Ryan Johnson and Brett Berard.
Just like
beautiful
continue to go. And then the man himself, we're going to talk about him. The next goal, USA power play goal, 16:53, Caulfield. We are going to talk about him. He was a birthday boy.
He was.
Yesterday. He was a birthday boy. Scored on his birthday. Gave his team a 3-0 lead. His second. His stats don't really indicate it, but this player.
He was pretty excited when he scored that to get the monkey off the back to get that second one of the tournament.
Yeah, but I'm just, even though the stats don't dictate it,
he's still a damn good player.
He's been a great player, and we're going to talk about that.
And you have another apple for Zegras on there.
Zegras. Now Zegras, another 2 points, leads the league in leads not the league, but the tournament in points, which is very nice to see. But then 3-0 dwindles away. A little bit under 2 minutes later, Slovakia scores at 18:32. Maciej Kaslik. Sorry for the pronunciations, guys. Matej Kaslik, his first of the tournament from Simon Nemec and Jakub Kolinek. Now, late goal doesn't stop the U.S. as they're still fairly dominant, but just like this is what U.S. is going to have to limit if they are going to want to beat the Canadas or the Finlands or the Russians, because they make their own mistakes. This was just like it was a nothing play going into the zone, and then just a scramble. They lost sight of the puck, and then it was just a little snapshot that just floated by Spencer Knight, that just ended his Spencer Knight shutout streak. He's been amazing, picked by the Florida Panthers, but it's just nothing really stopped the U.S. It's just it was a little bit concerning to see that.
The U.S. Creating their own problems definitely isn't great. You could in this game, you can kind of get away with that when you're playing like a team like Slovakia or one of those, or the Czechs, one of those lower teams, but when you're going up against, like you said, the Canadians, the Russians, one of these better, well-oiled teams, I don't know if the United States will be able to get away with that, and that's definitely a question heading into as they head into the next round.
Now the third period goes in. Slovakia scored a power play goal. Dominik Soja first, assisted from Samuel Knako, and then after this, I was very concerned because Slovakia
all the momentum
was putting up some good things right here, and they were doing some very, very good forechecking, and like the U.S. was getting hemmed in. They were getting outplayed at some points by a Slovakia team that probably had no business being in the game.
Oh, for sure. But as the period went on, Slovakia was smothering the United States.
But then
John Farinacci with his second of the game.
Yeah.
A nice lucky break, a nice goal, but a lucky break for the United States to extend their lead to 4-2, assisted by
just
Bobby
a great
Brink.
shot. He's been someone that I've been keeping an eye on. He's
flying
been
under the
putting
radar.
up some good point totals. Bobby Brink, someone that I was pretty high on this past draft, and he's putting up some good points as well. I mean, he's a good two-way player, and he's doing some good things. And then, just to end it off, 1836, empty net goal by the U.S. Matthew Berniers, his first of the tournament, assisted by Bobby Brink. Again, Bobby Brink.
Another point on there.
But this was USA fights off Slovakia Tech and allows for the win, and it's I wouldn't say dominant. It's very concerning. A Slovakia team with Simon Nemec, who has 0 goals, 4 assists as their top player, and they only got a couple other players with points, with them putting up the win. It's just...
Yeah, from looking at the box score, if anybody were to look at that and see a 5-2 win, you would think immediately the U.S. had a dominant performance, but it was anything but that, Terrence, as you said. As we were watching the game together,
I wouldn't say it was a bad performance. I would say that
the defense struggled and they made their own problems, but overall, offensively, and Spencer Knight played pretty well.
Spencer Knight is some player. We're going to get into him in a second, but right now we're just going to talk about... So we're going to talk about some U.S. players, and then I'm going to say this again. We're not really going to talk about the Slovakia team, as there's nothing. We're going to hint on some players, like I already hinted on Simon Nemec, who had in 5 games had 4 assists, but like no one really stood up to me except for their goaltender, Simon Latoksky. I think that's how you pronounce it. He was very solid
throughout the whole tournament
for the Slovakia team and throughout the whole tournament, and
there's
he's a bright spot for them.
There's not much they could do with a struggling defense and attack in front of him. So for what he had, he made it do, and he played pretty damn well.
He played very well against. He was putting up some key saves against the USA attack, like Caulfield, like a lot by Trevor Zegras, and it's a great thing to see.
Yeah, he kept them in the game for as long as he could. Unfortunately, they couldn't provide the offense that was needed, and the defense was not stepping up in front of him, but for what it's worth, he is a bright spot on this Slovakian team.
We're going to get into the big guy that we're going to talk about right now. Trevor Zegras.
Yeah.
Now, what to say about Trevor Zegras?
Outside of the fact that he's got 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 points in 5 games, he's a +6, and he's shooting. He's got a 31.58%.
If you were an Anaheim Ducks fan right now, you just like
jumping for joy.
Yeah. I mean, I love him. I feel like I would love him on my team, and I wish the Islanders, like, to be honest, I wish like the Islanders like moved up to get him, or any team probably wish to move up and go get him. Yeah. Who wouldn't want a Trevor Zegras type of player on their team?
I'm definitely shocked, like you said, though, not specifically the Islanders, but that I'm kind of shocked that no team moved up to go get Trevor Zegras, because like you said,
he was falling off a little bit.
He was falling off, but as proven in this tournament, and there are games left to play, as he already has 15 points, and I think he'll surely break that 20-point barrier. He's a generational talent.
Yes.
To have him on your team now that the Anaheim Ducks now do, it's going to be great to see once he hits the NHL.
Anaheim drafted him 9th overall in the 2019 draft, and what a stud they ended up picking, as he is just running the show in the World Juniors. He might break some nice records right here. Did you see that? He might pass I think the odds of Jeremy Roenick or a bunch of other great American players.
He is currently tied with 15 points. He's tied 3rd right now with Mike Modano, and 1 point back of Jeremy Roenick for 2nd. So great names to be in company with at the top.
It's amazing to see this guy doing it.
He's
another person a little bit going under the radar because of because of Trevor Zegras is Alex Turcotte. Alex Turcotte was drafted 5th overall by the Kings in 2019, and he was drafted higher than Zegras in that draft. Zegras, of course, taking the spotlight, but he's being that centerman alongside of Zegras, and he is playing very good two-way hockey and playing very, very good, as he has 1 goal, 4 assists, +5, just 5 points, everything going very well for Alex Turcotte. I do like his two-way game. Again, all the spotlight is on Zegras, but you can see like these other players like Alex Turcotte doing very, very good. Same thing with Matthew Boldy. As Matthew Boldy has 4 goals in this tournament in 5 games, 2 assists, 6 points. But we're going to talk about how his stats are being a little bit, I would say, inflated because of the player that he's playing alongside of. And that player is going to be Cole Caulfield. And we're going to just go right into it right now. Cole Caulfield is someone that, like, when going into the draft, he did drop. He did drop in the 2019 draft because of his size. He's a small little one. He is only 5'7".
Yeah, not big at all.
He's 5'7", but he does have that talent, and that propelled him to being a first-round pick in 2019, 15th by the Montreal Canadiens. Now, as you could see, if you look at his stats, it's just his stats. 5 games played, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points.
Nothing super eye-popping.
Nothing super eye-popping. You have his linemate, Matthew Boldy, putting up 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points. And then you're like, what happened? Like, is there something wrong with Cole Caulfield? No, it's just he's not putting up those points, but he is playing such a good game that it's hard not to, if you're watching the game, you're going to still see that top player that you drafted.
For sure. He's definitely noticeable if you are paying attention watching the game. He might not show up on the highlight reel so much this tournament, but like you said, if you're paying attention, you'll definitely notice him a couple times throughout the game.
And not to disregard Matthew Boldy or Arthur Kaliev on their lines. Matthew Boldy is also a great player. He has 4 goals. I mean, like, I'm not going to take anything away from Matthew Boldy. He's a 12th overall pick in 2019 for the Minnesota Wild. I mean, not going to take anything away from Matthew Boldy, but I feel like Cole Caulfield is upping his stats. Same thing with Arthur Kaliev, who, in my opinion, dropped a little bit in the draft. I feel like he was supposed to be a little bit higher, and I feel like the Kings got a nice steal out of him in the later rounds, as they got him in the second round, 33rd overall by the Kings, and I feel like that whole line is being boosted by the two-way game, just the energy that Cole Caulfield brings, and he's going to be great for Montreal, and it's great to see.
Yeah, they've got a young team up there in Montreal, so it's nice to see that when he joins them in future years, that he will be alongside some pretty good talent. So it'll be good to see where he goes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're going to go up to the guy that I am very high on, and I do not know why they signed Sergei Bobrovsky to that type of money if they have this guy. But Spencer Knight. Now, this guy, 2019, you don't see goalies drafted in the first round a lot unless they're Rick DiPietro. And that guy wasn't even... We're not going to talk about him right
Potential,
now.
but in the end, a massive bust and a massive...
No, we're not going to talk about him. We're still paying him. But this guy is not going to be that bust. You don't see goalies drafted in the first round often. And when they are... They're
special.
They're very special. And this guy, first round pick for the Florida Panthers, 13 overall in 2019. Just, in my opinion, I do not know why they picked up Sergei Bobrovsky to that type of money when they had this guy. This kid is amazing. I don't know what they're going to do with that contract.
Yeah, you know what? The Sergei Bobrovsky contract, I'm not a fan of the term. It was 7 years, $10 million, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
$10 million per. Yeah.
The 10 a year and the whole thing, just not a fan of it. I like bringing Sergei Bobrovsky down there as a mentor for Spencer Knight.
But I feel like it's too much money. Like
too much money.
When you're paying him that much money they're looking for a stud, and that he was not a stud.
I think the money would have been fine if you could have gotten a shorter deal out of him. Maybe
I feel like the money,
a 3-year deal possibly, because that would give Spencer Knight 1 year behind Bobrovsky and then instantly thrust into the starting role. But I don't agree too much with that $10 million contract.
I feel like the contract would be fine, though, if Sergei Bobrovsky put up Sergei Bobrovsky numbers.
But unfortunately, again, you have to look at the defense and the team in front of him. Mm-hmm. The Panthers have been struggling for years. Losing in the qualifying round to the New York Islanders, getting absolutely dominated. So, yeah, a lot of work in the offseason, though, done by these Florida Panthers. So it'll be interesting to see what's in front of Spencer Knight when he gets up there. But he's been tearing it up in World Juniors. He's posting 5 games played. He's allowed 6 goals on 79 shots and has 3 wins and 1 loss, but he does have those 2 shutouts.
Second highest save percentage in the league, in the tournament.
Yeah.
And he's just something special. Had a shutout streak of 2 games, which was broken in this game, but it was more to the fault of the American defense.
So, like you said, the U.S. were creating their own problems. Do you think that the U.S. team can face their demons and limit the mistakes against a hot and hungry Finland team?
Look, it's very scary. I'm worried for the USA right now. As Finland, they do make their mistakes, but it's very scary to see that Finland is just running on all cylinders.
Yeah, so I got to ask you, what are your keys to that game for the United States?
The keys to that game, like I said, is limiting their mistakes. I mean, the USA is probably very angry from last season when they got eliminated in the semis by Finland. And
unfortunate loss there. But
last season they got eliminated by Finland, and they're probably going to want to get them back for that.
For sure.
Finland's just very hot and hungry. Like, we were talking about them before and how well-rounded oil machine they are. And, again, they don't have those big-name players, but they just play a very solid game. And that's what I'm worried about for USA. I'm not worried about the stud power. I'm worried about the mistakes that they make.
Yeah, if they limit these mistakes, I think Spencer Knight's going to put up a fantastic performance. And as per usual, the offense is going to light it up.
Because it was not their best game of you can see, 5-2. And you were like, oh, this is probably one of their best games. But no, it was not one of their best games of the tournament.
For sure.
And they could do better, and they're going to have to do better if they're going to want to beat Finland.
So I got to ask you, what's your score prediction for this game, U.S. versus Finland?
U.S. versus Finland. I want to touch on that in a little bit. I just want to talk about a little bit more about U.S. I do want to think about that, too, a little bit. But Jake Sanderson, I love. Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting that, but I love Jake Sanderson. This kid is something new, and if you look at his stats, can you read out his stats for me, Lucas?
Where is it?
Jake Sanderson, he's number 8. Read out his stats.
There we go.
He probably runs a little bit under the radar.
Oh yeah, no, for sure under the radar. He's got the 5 games played. He's only got a goal. He only has 1 assist, and that's his only point. He is a +4 though, so as a defenseman, that's a key.
But here's the thing. This guy is so sound in the defensive end. I love his play. Just bouncing off players, making smart decisions with the puck. And that's what you get after a 5th overall pick. 5th overall pick by the Ottawa Senators. And then their draft by Ottawa was amazing this year.
Oh, for sure.
As they drafted Tim Stützle at 3, and then with 5 they drafted this American Jake Sanderson.
You're looking to get your number 1 offensive player and number 1 defensive player in the same draft.
And this guy has just been playing so sound, even though the points aren't there. He has been playing sound.
He might not be that offensive defenseman, but he for sure is that defensive defenseman that Ottawa desperately needs. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's just this team, like I said before, they are very, very sound. They look like a top team, but I feel like they need to be more sound for them to really come together. But some other players that we didn't really mention, that I want to give some kudos to, Cam York, another good offensive defenseman. In 5 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. 2019 first round pick by the
Drew Hellison as well, another great
by the Philadelphia Flyers. I agree. Drew Hellison's been someone running under the radar a little bit. Matthew Boldy, I mentioned before. I mentioned Arthur Kaliev, sorry.
Bobby Brink, John Farinacci.
Bobby Brink is someone that I like as well.
For sure.
And he's going to be very, very good. John Farinacci as well. Just everyone on this team has some sort of pedigree.
Yeah.
But it's to the point where they need to limit their mistakes. They're young. They're young kids. They need to limit their mistakes. They need to work better as a team, play more of a team game. And I think with more of a team game against a very good team in Finland, that it's going to be a great game on Tuesday.
For sure. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my prediction for that game.
Okay, perfect.
The United States and Finland, I think the USA defeats those demons and gets a little revenge on the Finnish team from last year. I'm going to go 4-2 United States, and I think my X factor and player of the game, I'm going to give it to Cole Caulfield. Like you said, been pretty silent throughout the tournament so far. I think this is his breakout game, and I think Cole Caulfield puts up 2 points this game.
Yeah, if I were to give a prediction for the U.S.-Finland game, it's tough because I think Finland is just a well-oiled machine, and as much as I want to big up the U.S., I think Finland's going to pull it out. I think it's going to be a very close. I think it's going to be a very close game at 3-2. As much as I don't want that to happen, I'm going to be rooting for the U.S. the whole time. But I feel like Finland is just a better overall team. Now,
interesting.
I know it is interesting, and I hope otherwise. But it's just like it's very cool to see these two teams fight off. Every team's going to be fighting for every inch of ice, every shot,
hey, looking to the finals, so
every puck, and like it's going to be it's going to be a very good game.
So
now moving on to Russia versus Canada. What do you think about Russia versus Canada?
So I think both these games are going to be great. I personally think that this game is going to be very tight. I'm going to say that Russia's going to give Canada a run for their money heading into the third, but I'm going to say an explosive third period from Canada propels them to a 3-1 victory over the Russians. I'm going to say it will be 1-1 going into that third period, but players such as
Dylan Cousins.
Yeah, I think Cousins is really going to show out in this game.
Do you think Byfield's going to come out?
I'm going to say he's going to have a quiet game.
I feel like Byfield needs to come out for Canada.
I think this is Peyton Krebs. I'm going to give that Peyton Krebs my X factor for this game. 3-1 Canada.
I think, unlike you, I'm going to say this with my chest. Canada is going to have a blowout. They're going to blow out Russia. It's going to be a good, it's going to be 4-2. It's going to be 4-2, but it's going to be a pretty dominant performance by Canada. Byfield's going to show up. Russia, my Russian X Factor, like I said before, Vasily Podkolzin, he's a 10th overall pick by Vancouver.
They want any chance at winning. He's got to show up.
He needs to show up. He's a great player. He has the most shots on that team. He's just all over the place. He just isn't getting that puck luck. He needs to get into the back of the net. And then if he is the player, I thought he was going to be top 5 pick this year.
Okay.
Drop the 10.
Yeah.
And I feel like he needs to be the player that I saw going maybe top 5 for them to have a chance against a dominant force in Canada. But those are predictions for the World Juniors. For me, Russia versus Canada, 4-2. And U.S.-Finland, I'd said 3-2 Finland. And then what did you say for your team?
I had said United States versus Finland. I'm going to give it 4-2 to the U.S. And I'm going to say 3-1 Canada over Russia.
Yeah.
I think both are going to be very tight games. It's going to be really great to see as we progress into the week. It's going to be great.
I can't wait. And let us know what you guys think. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what your predictions are and what you guys think is going to happen in the World Juniors. I mean,
yeah, any upsets,
anything. I mean, tell us what you guys are fans of. Tell us what you guys are doing. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. Okay, now we are moving on to... We're going to move on from the World Juniors. We talked a lot about the World Juniors, and now we're going to talk about what's really going on in the NHL. Training camp just opened up, and it didn't officially open up. It's opening up. By the time, we're not really sure what time we're uploading this, but we're uploading it the next day, and it's just it's very interesting to see how everything's going to turn out with the U.S. and with COVID and everything going on.
So the first RFA contract that we're going to get into is the Pierre-Luc Dubois contract.
Now, Pierre-Luc Dubois, I love Pierre-Luc Dubois, 3rd overall by Columbus in it was, what draft was it? I think it was 2016. I might be mistaken by that. But Pierre-Luc Dubois, 2 years, $10 million, just a bridge deal. They needed to get something done, and they did. They did get it done. And first year he's making $3.5 million. Next year he's making $6.5 million. Now, Lucas, what do you think about that contract?
So I think it's a great contract, both for Pierre-Luc Dubois and for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think I'm a big Pierre-Luc Dubois fan, even though the Jackets were in the Islanders division. Dubois is a great young player. He can do things on both sides of the puck, and he's got a hell of a shot.
Mm-hmm. He's amazing. Just like you don't see his stats in the NHL this year. He did not have like a very stellar season. He didn't have a bad season.
It's tough with the loss of Artemi Panarin and big names like that who helped them along the way.
As a team, just like Columbus played a very good team game. John Tortorella did make them have a pretty good team game, like the Islanders, I feel.
Yeah, for sure.
They lost a big stud, and then they did it. Yeah, 3rd overall, 2016 by the Columbus Blue Jackets. And then this year, like, you wouldn't really, like, when you hear these point totals, you hear in 70 games played, 18 goals, 31 assists, 49 points. Like,
nothing eye-popping.
Nothing eye-popping, but in the playoffs, this guy really showed up. And it's really, really nice to see how this guy really came into his own and became a great player in the playoffs for this team.
And he got paid $10 million, but I think once this bridge deal is done, hopefully everything's better with COVID in the United States. That's why these bridge deals are happening, so that players can get paid. And I think he's going to get paid when that happens. Like, again, like you said, first year of the contract is $3.5 million. Second is $6.5. I think it's a great contract for the Blue Jackets, saving the cap and keeping their star player. And at the same time, Pierre-Luc Dubois is getting the money that he rightfully deserves. So, the other thing is he's the first RFA player in the offseason to sign. So it's a good indicator for other players such as Matt Barzal, which we'll get into later.
If you look at Columbus Blue Jackets, if you look at this guy's playoff stats compared to it, he has 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points, and point per game player in the playoffs against a solid team in the Maple Leafs and another solid team in the Lightning,
in the future champions.
So he was playing very, very nice, and he's going to be a stud for this team, and hopefully they can keep him long term for the foreseeable future. Now that we got that out of the way, it's time for what we're more passionate in. According to the Sportsnet insider, Elliot Friedman, he said about Barzal's contract, the same certain applies to Barzal. I expect the deal to carry a $7 million AAV over 3 years.
And like Elliot Friedman had said, it bases off the Pierre-Luc Dubois contract. Barzal had 51 points more in the regular season than Dubois. So if Dubois is getting 2 years, $10 million, I know it's 3.5 and then 6.5, but let's just say an average of $5 million a year. Well, if Barzal's got those 51 points more in the regular season than Dubois, and they again were drafted in the same class, it does become something where Barzal and his agent can command more money. I'm going to say this contract is going to, like Elliot Friedman said, range around $7 million, but I would not be shocked if Barzal tries to shoot for $7.58 million.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we all know Lou Lamoriello. He's very stingy. What he said to the media the other day, I have nothing new to say. Matthew's in town quarantining. We'll certainly work at this with hope to have him at the first day of training camp. It is our intention and his intention to be there at the start of training camp, and hopefully that will happen. Now, it does give some hope. Barzal is in New York quarantining. He's not up in Canada still, and they're trying to make something going, but I'm going to ask you this. Do those quotes given by Lou give you optimism or pessimism about those contract negotiations between the two parties?
So, it's tough for me. As a diehard Islander fan, and knowing how Tavares left and all this, yes, he was a UFA. It does bring flashbacks back for me, which Terrence of Short does for you as well. I'm going to give some optimism, though. He's an RFA, so he can't just walk wherever he wants. And in the modern day era with COVID in the United States and how everything's being set up, because he's an RFA and he can't just walk wherever he wants, the team's going to have to offer sheet him. And I don't really see any team being in the position to offer sheet him because it's a lot of money that goes involved and it's a lot of picks and stuff. And the fact that the first media day actually for most of the teams started today and the first on-ice session, such as for the Islanders, is tomorrow, I don't see any teams offer sheeting him. With that being said, and Barzal being in New York and Barzal not going to hold out and wanting to get back on the ice, I think it's pretty optimistic as an Islander fan. From what Lou Lamoriello said, I think that Barzal, I would like to say, signs by the end of today so he can be there for that first on-ice session tomorrow. But whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, in a week, I think Barzal will sign with the New York Islanders. So I'm going to say it's pretty optimistic right now, and it's trending in the right direction.
Yeah. The Islanders just signed Andy Green, Corey Schneider, and Matt Martin back again during this period of time that we've been waiting. And it's very interesting to see that going down. And I thought right after that Matt Barzal would be signed, but apparently not. We're still awaiting for a Matthew Barzal contract, but Johnny Boychuk with the Johnny Boychuk money, and Johnny Boychuk unfortunately going on injury reserve and having to end his career. He was a great player.
Eye injury, yeah.
But that cap space is going to be very helpful for the
New York Islanders.
For the New York Islanders to help Matt Barzal's contract fit in.
Boychuk was carrying about $6 million a year, 6.5. So now that he's on LTIR, the New York Islanders will be able to use that cap in some capacity. So it'll be interesting to see what Barzal's contract is worth, but you also have to take into account Schneider, Martin, and Green, who were all just recently signed. Lamoriello has yet to give out the details on term or money. I would like to think that it's 1-year deal for all three because Schneider's going to be the AHL goalie, and I couldn't imagine it being more than something around $1 million per player for the 1 year. Leaving roughly 6.5, maybe $7 million for Barzal and his new deal. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
It is interesting to see how it plays out, and with the World Juniors on, it's very hard to focus on NHL stuff because the World Juniors is just so exciting. You actually got actual hockey playing, and you focus on that. And I feel like the World Juniors has captured my mind more than NHL RFA signings. But Matthew Barzal signing is very important to me as an Islander fan, and it's just good to see that these players are doing that. Lou is trying his best to bring him in, and I feel like those quotes do give me some optimism. But I do know Lou, he sticks on his offer, and he doesn't budge. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. And I got a feeling, though, that Matthew Barzal will be wearing a sweater for training camp very, very soon. And, I mean, it's going to be very interesting how things play out between other RFAs and other deals that are going down. But, yeah, I feel like I could make a pretty good comparison between the Pier Dubois contract and the Matt Barzal contract coming up. I feel like it is going to be a 2 to 4 year deal between $5 and $7 million.
I personally, I could see it being, if Barzal does choose to sign that bridge deal of $2 million, that bridge deal of 2 years, where after those 2 years he is still an RFA, I could see him asking for more money. I could see it being $7.58 million. If he asks and goes the 4-year route, where after he's a UFA, I could see Barzal asking for less money, maybe 6.5, because he'll have the freedom then to walk as a UFA, and he can then demand more money that way. Whereas if he's an RFA, he can't just walk. He's going to have to get offer sheeted, which is a very rare occurrence, which we did see it with Sebastian Aho in the past, what was it, 1 year ago?
1 or 2. I
1 or
think
2
it
years
was
ago.
by Montreal.
It was by Montreal, and it was for the $8.95 million that Aho is now making.
Of course, it was matched. But
It was, of course, matched, which I would like to think would happen with Barzal if it ever happened to the Islanders. But it'll be very interesting to see what route Barzal and Lamoriello choose to go down as the days progress and we head into training camp, which starts tomorrow.
With that being said, do you have any last pointers right there?
I got nothing else. I would say World Juniors are going to be great. I'm very interested to see how these final 2 games go. And like I said, I think we're going to see a U.S.-Canada rematch in the finals.
That would be very interesting. I would love
I
to
think
see
it'd be
that.
great.
I feel like that's going to be amazing.
As much as I'd love to see the upset, I'd love to see a U.S.-Canada game in the finals.
I think that would be amazing.
Long overdue.
No.
Anything for you?
I like what you said. Very excited for the World Juniors. Very excited for a possible Matt Barzal signing. And it is very nice to see that we have some progression maybe for the contract. And it's nice to really look and dissect the World Juniors and see who's doing good and see how maybe the NHL could play out very, very soon.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully next time on our next podcast we'll have more to bring to you. We'll definitely have more on the World Juniors as that'll be finishing up, but hopefully we'll have more to bring to you on training camp as that finally will get the first week underway. And
everything is coming into play. We thank you for tuning in, as this is our first podcast, and we really appreciate you tuning in, and we encourage you to share it with your friends that also love hockey and maybe might want to listen and maybe put their input on their opinions.
Yeah, your input will be used in future videos. Might even at some point maybe have a guest on future podcasts. So definitely tune in next time. And
we're happy to hopefully make a community here and try and talk about hockey with many different people, and because we love the sport of hockey, and we're gonna see how everything goes with COVID and everything in training camp and the World Juniors. And next episode we're probably gonna talk about like our predictions and like looking at every team, right?
Yeah, I would say a week from now you're gonna be next weekend you're going to be 3 days out from the start of the NHL season, so we'll definitely get into all those predictions for standings, and we're going to dissect every single team. Hopefully we'll have some new contracts.
We will talk about the World Juniors a lot though, so that'll take a pretty good time, but we'll
dissect
soon.
it all.
The World Juniors will be done, and then we will have a lot of time for NHL talk.
For sure. So once again, I'm Lucas.
I'm Terrence. This is the Layin the Body podcast, and we hope that you liked it. Sayonara.